of electricity is killing Nigerian industries, something Chief Odutola was concerned about way back in 1971. According to the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, industry spent $93.1 billion, billion naira, I must say, on alternative energy in 2018. That is 47 years after Chief Odutola. Today, no business can survive in Nigeria without generators. Consequently, the abnormal has become normal. Unless Nigeria decisively tackles its electricity, energy deficiency, and reliability, its industries will always remain uncompetitive.
Barrister, I hope that the sound was clear to you.
Very clear.
All right. Yes. Now that was, for those of you who may not know him, that was Akinwumi Adesina. I think he is the African Finance AFD. I've forgotten the
Development
Bank, AFDB, yes, African Development Bank. He's a Nigerian, and he is the one in charge. He's the head of the African Development Bank. And you heard what he said. The politicians actually came at him. The Tinubu attack dogs actually came at him on this conference, on this speech he gave. And everything he said there is just the truth. But the reality is we've been having this electricity issue from 1970. You can imagine, since 1971. And it never got better. It has even gotten worse to the worst level ever. Barrister, this electricity thing, every successive government, but like I mentioned earlier on the previous topic, that Obasanjo tried to do something, but it failed and failed woefully. And since then, other successive governments have come to do. I don't know what is really going on, even though I think we have reason, we know the reason why. It is about corruption. We have people are benefiting from the epileptic power supply in Nigeria. We thought that probably after someone like me, I thought after the privatization, even though it's not fully privatized, after the privatization of NEPA to PHCN, that probably will become better because the people who bought the NEPA will probably muzzle the generator or and other alternative power supply equipment. They will muzzle them out of business because they will definitely, because if they muzzle them out of business, they will make power supply to be more reliable. As by extension, they will make more profits because more people will be reliant on the general power supply, and by extension, they will become it will become more profitable to them. But that is not the case today, Barrister. This power supply thing has become the epileptic status of our power supply today has become cancerous. It has defied all solutions, or it has become incurable. Barrister, I don't know. It seems to be the corruption within the power sector seems to go beyond generator supplier or importers or other alternative power supply mechanism suppliers. What do you think about that?
Well, the issue of power is a recurring decimal in the Nigerian scene. It is regrettable. It is so sad to see us discussing at the level that we have electricity. In terms of comparison, when you look at South Africa, they're having over 100 megawatts. We are having 4,000. 100,000 megawatts. We are having 4,000. We have been oscillating between 2,000 to 4,000 since 1971. We are just at the level of 4,000 megawatts. A country like South Africa is having over 100,000 megawatts. Now, it is elementary. I heard Adesina talking. you don't need Adesina to tell you that the economy depends on energy. There's no country in the world whose economy will grow without energy. How do you run big companies where the sheer amount of electricity, it is so huge to run heavy industrial companies? Some of them cannot be shut down. If you shut down to start, it will take you maybe a month. That kind of electricity is what powers heavy industries for development. How can we be talking about 4,000 megawatts of electricity in 2025? It's so shameful, actually very, very shameful. And what is the cause of this? This is as a result of, one, the known problem of corruption, two, lack of a blueprint for development of the energy sector. We hope from one government to the other. Back to Obasanjo, and what people say of Obasanjo, I can understand his difficulty, because as at the time he came in 1999, you know, Nigeria was a total pariah coming from Abacha's area. Nobody wanted to talk to Nigeria throughout the world. So Obasanjo, rightly or wrongly, felt that he would leave the internal affairs of Nigeria, including the economy, in the hands of his vice president, Atiku. And then he will go around the world to try to repair Nigeria's image, to try to achieve debt forgiveness, and do other things. After 4 years, he realized that what he did was a mistake, because that the vice president, he left the economy, he left the internal affairs of Nigeria, was not doing well, was rather using that position to build his political career. Now, he remained just 4 years for Obasanjo in the next, his second term. He set about trying to actually tackle the electricity problem. But then, by the time, it is not something you can write with a, sign with a pen and solve it. It has to undergo, there were studies that he made, but time was no longer on his side. By the time his tenure, second tenure was finishing, he wanted to do something, but he did it in the wrong way. He signed 13 power projects. I think altogether, if you are hearing about $16 billion that were committed, that is the genesis of that issue. About 13 power plants where contracts were given. Some of them had offshore components, some of them onshore components. Money was released to these companies, and some of them started bringing the equipment. In the typical Nigerian scene, as soon as Obasanjo's tenure finished and Yar'Adua came into power, people advised him, oh, these contracts were hurriedly given, they had no this thing, this and that, canceled the contracts. And Yar'Adua, by his mistake, he canceled those 13 projects. Number one, Nigeria lost the money he gave to he paid to the companies. Some of the equipment that were brought in, imported, laid waste. They were never cleared. They laid waste at the port till today. Nobody knows what happened to this. It became the fact that Obasanjo spent $16 billion on power and nothing came out of it. And this was because the president that came in did not build on that. What was the defect in those contracts? The defect in the 13 power project that Obasanjo awarded contract was simply a question of supply of gas. They were to be powered, the power stations themselves were to be powered by gas. And there was no pipeline to supply them gas. That was the defect. So they could not stand on their own. Now, what would the next president have done is to now give another portion of contract to build pipelines to supply gas instead of terminating the whole contracts. And in the process, Nigeria lost a lot of money. Some of those companies say, look, you gave us contract, you paid us, we have already bought some equipment. You can't ask us to refund anything. That is the genesis of what, if you are hearing about $16 billion. We did not follow up. What Yar'Adua ought to have done is to look at the contract, see where the defects was, and plug those holes, today we would have had far better energy supply. Then you have the generator Kaba that now built up. It's a huge business dealing in billions and billions of dollars with foreign elements, particularly China. And they have become one of the biggest lobbies in Nigeria. Going forward in the energy or electricity sector without dealing with them will be almost impossible. We need a leader who will put his foot down and deal with that generator lobby and put them in their place, allow the normal and proper electricity sector to flourish. Along with that, we have seen changes in the world towards non-renewable power sources, solar and wind. We can combine them. Why don't we even treat it as an emergency? By doing that, look, if you take $1.5 billion, you can build a nuclear power plant that will supply you over 10,000 megawatts of electricity. Double what we have on ground, and that can be achieved in less than 2 years. It doesn't matter whether you bring the Russians or even the Americans or foreigners to run it, but we will have that electricity. Why can't we do it? If it is actually an emergency, we should sacrifice our pride and do something like that, even if it means bringing foreigners. After all, many projects, refineries and other things are being run by foreigners. Why can't a power station be run by foreigners? But it will solve our energy problem in the short term, while we have long-term plans to expand the infrastructure. Now, it is not just the power plants, the generation capacity. The transmission capacity has remained at the point it was almost 30 years ago. So it's a complex problem. If you generate more electricity now, how do you transmit it?
Yeah, but the problem with this electricity is not that we do not have solution to it. You just pointed the problem, at least part of the problem. It's not that we do. We have the solution. We have the technical know-how. We have the geniuses that has a solution to this. Just like you noted during Obasanjo time, of course, that was why he tried to establish those 13 stations. Sort of, because obviously a report was forwarded to him. He saw the report, and of course, these people they pointed the problem and pointed solution to him, and that was what gave birth to those 13 stations he actually paid for. Unfortunately, Yar'Adua didn't continue with that. So we know what the problem is. We know the solution. Nigerians have the solution to this problem, but there is zero hunger to take care of the problem. Why? Because of the corruption. You just mentioned one of the reasons: the generator industry. The generator importation industry. That is one of the major reasons. That is why they don't want to take care of it. One of the reasons. And other reasons have to do with this issue of milking, because they keep releasing money to take care of all these things, but at the same time, these things are not getting done. They are not being done because they release money to buy parts, release money to contractors or whatever. The politicians within the system, what they do is just share this money and go buy nonsense. Sometimes don't even buy all these things. But it's on record they bought so-so, and their so contract was. You mentioned the one that Obasanjo did. That those money was has gone down the drain. Nobody questioned. The contractors went with the money, left with the money, and that's just it. And since then, we've had this issue of award of one contract to the other, one supplier for one equipment or the other. All those money, where are they going to? That is the corruption. That is a web, a really web. So generator importers are just. They are just beneficiaries of the core corruption, because we didn't have this generator issue from the inception. Right from that 1971, we had this issue. So the generator business was not that. So the generator business, they cashed in on the foundation of corruption. That's just it. Generator business is just this is a secondary corruption, but There was and there is a primary corruption, and that primary corruption is the problem. If we can solve, if we can take care of the primary corruption, then by default, the secondary corruption will be taken care of. Because taking care of the primary selection corruption means that you will eventually end up actually implementing the solution. Bring up or whatever, take the blueprint and actually do the right thing. The moment you do the right thing, the secondary corruption will, by default, shrink and possibly be eliminated. So that is the problem. So it is so sad that that we have found ourselves in such debacle. Go ahead.
Let me make 2 points. One, I just give you, following up on this issue of corruption, I give you an example of what Yar'Adua did. On coming into power, when he stopped those projects that Obasanjo had contracted, he set up a committee. He said, go around the world, go to these countries that have 24-hour
Power supply.
electricity supply and see how they are doing it, how they have achieved that. The committee came back to him and said, look, we need funds for this project. So I think Yar'Adua directed and about 500 and something million was set aside for this project. In 2 months' time, all the money vanished. One group will go to Brazil, another one will go to this overhead and travel and everything, finish the money. So when they came and told Yar'Adua that the money has finished, you have to give another one. He said, no, if that is the way this thing will go, that side that he wanted to go, he also stopped. Now, coming to privatization, which you and me know, the reason why privatization is done is basically to bring in capital in that sector, and then to bring in the technical quality or expertise. So if you are privatizing, you have recognized that the government cannot properly run this because one, it does not have the finance, two, it does not have the managerial and technical ability. So you are looking for somebody who has the financial ability and the technical competence to properly position and run that enterprise. So when you come to the power sector, you discover that all these rules are only observed in the breach. When they want to privatize, what do we get? It is our people who are a government then that will go offshore and incorporate a company and come and use it to buy the same asset that is being privatized. When they are able to muster the initial funds to buy the license, after that, they have neither the technical ability nor the finance to run the enterprise. This is what is happening in the PCN, the NEPA that was privatized now. Nigerians essentially duped us. They went overseas, incorporated some offshore companies or got foreign companies that they attached themselves to. They came and they put some funds together and bought this discourse. Then going forward, where is the money to continue to invest? They didn't have. Where is the technical ability to run it? They didn't have. They are now forced to raise capital from the Nigerian market, the Nigerian capital market, because they didn't have the funds. In the first place, if you didn't have the requisite finance, you ought to be disqualified. If we are going to do privatization, anybody buying an enterprise should be banned from raising capital from the Nigerian market because it defeats the purpose. You are supposed to bring foreign capital to inject into the economy, inject into the enterprise, but they don't. Now they start blackmailing the government, raise the tariff, raise the cost of this thing. The government has no choice. They raise again and again and again. We still have the same problem. because inflation is continuing. So we have a fraudulent privatization mechanism that ends up not achieving the purpose for privatization. It does not bring capital. It does not bring technical ability. So it is the energy.
Yeah, and the privatization we are talking about now, the truth is, another solution, another possible solution is this. Complete privatization, because what we have now is government still have a stake in that PACL. They still have a stake.
Yes.
I think about 40% or thereabout.
They can reverse it.
And that's it. That's what based on what is the MOU. Of course, they can reverse it. That's the point. So by default, in reality, government still plays major role in how PHCN is run. So as a result of that, just know that the same elements of government who are participating in this so-called sham called privatization, the same elements will not. They are the same elements who will not. They are the part of this primary corruption that will never allow it to thrive. That do allow the system to thrive. As a result of that, the only solution that will need right now is for the PHCN to be complete 100% privatized. If we privatize it 100%, it becomes private entity. So the private entity, what do you expect? Businessmen, these are private people. If the system doesn't work, it's at their own detriment or to their own detriment. So if it doesn't work, so they will definitely, every businessman wants to make profit. They want to not only make profit, they want to maximize profit. So privatizing 100% privatization will actually yield results. So by default, it will shrink the lobbyists, shrink the generator lobbyists. It will not even shrinking. It will eventually, by extension, with time, it will completely kill the generator importation or the lobbyists. Because when you privatize something, the owners of this company want the company to succeed. They will bring in sentiments will just go out of the windows. They'll just fling all sentiments out of the system and bring in capable hands, credible hands, people who can handle this. The solution is already on the way. They don't need to do any other study. We have enough studies and results of such studies of the solution to this problem. They will only pick up the reports, dust the reports, and implement it. They will not spend any further money to actually find the problem to this problem. If they already know the problem and the solution is on paper already, all they need to do dust the report and implement it. And in short time, we'll have steady power supply, and by default, kill the generator business, other alternative power supply business. So that is just the reality about it. The truth is, just like you pointed, the privatization was actually based, the foundation was faulty in the first place. And that foundation that was exactly what happened during Atiku, the BPE, Bureau for Public Enterprise. That was exactly the same thing that happened during that BPE, that you can imagine for someone like Atiku to be the chairman of the BPE there. What do you expect? The chairman of the Privatization Council. What did we expect? Of course, we didn't expect anything better. So the same thing is happening with NNPC privatization, which government has a stake, a major stake. I think has a 49% or thereabout stake. And the PHC, power supply too, government has about 40-something% stake as well. So why are we fooling ourselves? All this so-called privatization are no privatization. Privatization should be done 100%. And that is just it.